blessing us with freedom and forgiveness. Tonight, may we as commissioners and citizens listen to each other with open hearts and minds. Thank you for watching over us even when we ignore you. You're always there if only we seek your face. In your holy name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to remind you to silence your phones if you would, because I just remember when I put my hand over my phone, I forgot to do that. We're going to Council of Chambers Representative Darrell Rivers of the Lexington Area Chamber of Commerce is scheduled to be the Council of Chambers representative at this meeting. Darrell, are you here? Okay, a lot of them are still live. Our video. Commissioner McClure, if you'd recognize our veterans in the office, please.
We have come to a tradition of recognizing all the veterans in the auditorium. If you are a veteran, would you please raise your hand? All right, we thank you for your service. Now, if you have not received a lapel pin, if you'll come up, we'll give you a Davidson County lapel pin that's got veteran on it. These are limited editions.
Limited editions.
I know you.
Good job, Bill. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, buddy. Appreciate your service.
If you have not already done so, if you would like to speak at the public address, those who want to speak with regards to the budget, we'll have a public hearing on that a little later on in the agenda. Due to the anticipated length of the public hearings, I'm asking that they be moved to follow the deliberation agenda. Are there any other changes to the agenda? If not, may I have a motion second to adopt the amended agenda?
So moved. Second.
Cast your vote. Jason.
Just replace, okay, well, I'll put this one, yes, let me see, that might trigger it. All of the votes are in, and that motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Public address, Polly Leonard.
Well, I'm going to hope my mic is on. So, I think it's real cute that we pledge allegiance to our flag when we start out, but yet you chose to shut me down last meeting. That pledges to our Constitution, to the blood that was bought to pay for those freedoms for us to have. But that, I mean, it's very contradictory to sit and stand up and pledge allegiance, and you take an oath to protect our constitutional rights, both federal and state, and yet you completely removed them from me because you thought I was going to read pornography, which in fact I didn't. But you still didn't put the audio up. So what, I don't understand. You were concerned that I would read pornography that is in our schools because kids will have access to the YouTube channel. Same kids that are in the school buildings that are being given the same pornography that I read out. Do you not see the hypocrisy in all of that? It's concerning that you don't. It's concerning that all of you knew ahead of time that you were going to shut down the mic, and not a one of you stood up and said, just so you know, we don't agree with what's getting ready to happen. I think it speaks volumes to your ability to stand against what you know is constitutionally wrong. but yet you pledged an oath to defend that constitutional freedom, but you didn't stand for it. But you hung your head. I knew something was up the last meeting because all of y'all had your head down, except for Todd. Todd had his head up. But everyone of y'all had your head down. And it speaks volumes to the strength that you actually do have to publicly stand when you know something is done wrong. And I'm prepared for you to issue your apologies. And it can be done publicly, since you attempted to humiliate me publicly. Because it's shameful. Very. Because I don't enjoy getting up here having to read the pornography. I don't enjoy spending my hard-earned money having to buy pornography. I don't read that in my free time. I don't watch it in my free time. But I did that on behalf of the kids. Not just mine, but everybody else's, because it's a Class 1 felony in this state. So I'm just wondering, at what point are you going to issue an apology? Or are we just going to continue to sit down and turn the other cheek with how it was acted? Disgusting.
Dawn Heck.
I brought some show and tell. Thank you for allowing me to give it to you. And I thank you for allowing me to speak. And I would like to honor all of you because you actually let the Davidson County community know that you were stomping on all of our civil rights when you shut down their ability to hear what's going on in the county. And yes, I'm going to call you out because I'm Granny and I've lived long enough to be able to do it, and I'm brave enough to do it. So I have given you Decision America 2016. Some of you probably went to that in Raleigh when Franklin Graham was asking our nation to repent of the leader's sins. Also, I gave you the effect of proclamation, since you like to proclamate so much. This has to do with our president, and that was spoken on March the 30th, 1863, and I ask you to read that. I'm going to go ahead and just give you a highlight of his statement. It behooves us then to humble ourselves before the offended power, to confess our national sins, and to pray for clemency and forgiveness. And I do want you, and that was President Lincoln. Please read that, because that sits on my desk. It's really yellowed, so it didn't show up really good. And I was asking the Lord, what do I need to bring tonight? Because I was just weeping at what's happening in this county. I never thought that our elected officials would silence the community before the primary. That's the key. Happened before the primary. That stopped a lot of people from knowing who they need to vote for. We were silenced, and it cost us 2 seats, maybe 3, because you intentionally stopped that audio. I'm ashamed of you. The nation saw what had hidden from the parents of this nation in Davidson County, parents, grandparents, voters, pornography literature on the shelf of the public schools. Now, we were denied through the Board of Education, and by the way, they're here, and, you know, I honor them for doing that, but they must be a little bold tonight. But, you know, the citizens, and I quote, they went on the warpath and they asked you, why did you do that, to silence their right to hear what's going on in this county, because they really need to know who they're going to vote for. And I quote from your county manager, recently, persons who viewed the live stream of the board's meeting had complained to the county about the obscene, indecent, and profane statements made by speakers during the public address. In order to review the potential legal liability that could be incurred by the county in live streaming such statements, the audio portion of the public address on May the 9th. You know, it took a while. And by the way, Chris, you did get this all in form. You can make sure that they get a copy to the rest of them. But it took us a year to get somebody in authority to admit it's lewd pornography. And it happened here by your email. What are you going to do about it? It's on record. We can subpoena you.
Time's up, ma'am.
And you're aiding and abetting.
Okay, I like to, that's the last speaker. But just for the record, normally I don't respond, but just for the record, I apologize to everybody. That was my decision. It was made on issues that came up. You can deny it all you want to. You can shake your head all you want to. You weren't there. I was. It was my call. This board had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any difference. Please refrain from speaking. You've already had your opportunity to speak.
Number next.
But it was my call, folks, and it was done based on a concern that was brought to our attention immediately before, and I checked on it, and I wasn't sure, didn't target anybody as we shut the whole thing down, just the public address portion. Everybody was muted at that point. It turns out, once we investigated and came to the conclusion that we were good with what we were posting, and it's been resumed. It was one meeting. Okay. You're more than welcome. I was going to do that anyway. Okay. Are there any items to remove from the consent agenda for discussion? If not, may I have a motion second to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
All right, please get a second.
Second.
Okay. Cast your vote.
All of the votes are in, and that motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Okay.
What deliberations next?
Hmm?
Deliberations?
Yeah, we're, deliberation. Okay. We have a proclamation for recognizing community action. I'm asked Commissioner Troll if he'll read this, as he was a member of that board.
Yes, sir, thank you. I have the honor tonight to read the proclamation recognizing community action. Whereas in 2022 marks the 58th year since the Community Action Network was established to help American families and communities overcome obstacles in poverty. Whereas over 1,000 agencies across the county are working, all across the country are working every day to create opportunities and transform the lives of their neighbors, making communities stronger, and helping families across the U.S. thrive. And whereas this year, Davidson County Community Action, a proud member of the Community Action Network, will also commemorate 56 years in service helping families throughout Davidson County. And whereas each May during Community Action Month, we reflect on the impact Davidson County Community Action Incorporated and our networks has had on families, said Derek Horton, Executive Director of the Davidson County Community Action Incorporated. Last year alone, we served 815 people in Davidson County and over 15 million across the country with immediate needy services such as shelter and food. Also long-term solutions like education and job placement. Whereas community action agencies service 99% of all American countries with life-changing services to help families achieve financial stability. All agencies are locally controlled and represented by the private, public, and low-income sectors of the community. We're proud of our community participation in the development and oversight of these programs, said Horton. Their engagement helps us to more effectively approach by determining what Davidson County needs. And whereas Davidson County Community Action will continue the success of community action and raise awareness throughout Davidson County. Now, therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize community action for its 56 years in Davidson County and proclaim May 2022 as Community Action Month in Davidson County, adopted this 23rd day of May. of 2022. Is Derek here tonight?
Mr. Vice Chair, he was supposed to be here, but something may have tied him up.
Okay. Well, you'll see that he gets the
I
demotion.
sure will. I will make sure it gets
Is
delivered.
that a motion, Commissioner Troy?
Yes, sir.
You got a second on that?
Second.
Got a second? Cast your vote. Okay, we got a proclamation, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. I'm gonna ask Commissioner McClure if he would read that. He sits on the Senior Services Board.
And all of the votes were in for the last one, and it passed by a vote of 7-0.
Okay.
Whereas older adults deserve to be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and vital participating members of our communities. Whereas in 2006, the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, in support of the United Nations International Plan of Action, proclaimed a day to recognize the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue. And whereas 2022 marks the 16th annual World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, its recognition will promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults. And whereas the National Center on Elder Abuse, NCEA, and Davidson County Department of Senior Services recognizes the importance of taking action to raise awareness, prevent, and address elder abuse. And whereas, as our population lives longer, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future as a nation. And whereas ageism and social isolation are significant causes of elder abuse in the United States. And whereas recognizing that it is up to all of us to ensure that proper social structures exist so people can retain community and societal connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse. And whereas preventing abuse of older adults through maintaining and improving social supports like senior centers, human services, transportation will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of our communities. And whereas there is justice, there can be no abuse. Therefore, the NCEA urges all people to restore justice by honoring older adults. Whereas, join us in our engaging and empowering movement and put an end to abuse. We of the Davidson County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim June the 15th, 2022 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Davidson County and encourage all the communities to recognize and celebrate older adults and their ongoing contributions to the success and vitality of our country. And I will make a motion we accept that.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second, Mr. Troy. Cast your vote. Katie Sprayberry here. Mr. McClure, would you like to present that to Ms. Sprayberry?
Mr. Chair, can I get your vote, please?
I was too busy
I've got it.
talking.
There we go.
Unfortunately, no one is immune to abuse. It comes in many forms such as financial, physical, emotional, sexual, and neglect, and can happen to any demographic. Preventing and addressing elder and vulnerable adult abuse is a responsibility shared by everyone and requires awareness and action from all parts of society. This begins with knowledge because when we know better, we do better. Everyone needs to be aware of the factors that contribute to elder abuse, learn how to recognize the signs, and where to go for support if they suspect it's happening. That's a mouthful. This is why Davidson County Senior Services prioritizes shining a light on this important topic every year. By offering activities, charging the Purple Fonts campaign, and hosting a World Elder Abuse Awareness Day walk, our mission is to help end the cycle of abuse. According to the Department of Social Services, it is estimated that only 1 in 5 of these crimes is ever discovered. In 2021 alone, 420 reports of abuse were made here in Davidson County. This is why it's crucial to bring attention to this cause. And I urge anyone, if you suspect abuse has occurred or is occurring, please tell someone. See it, report it, stop it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can't get out too quick. In essence, what this means is y'all gotta be nice to me. Okay, well. Okay, well.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Good job.
Okay, we're going, next is the, the purchase of the body scanner by the Sheriff Detention Center. Mr. Smith, will you lead this off, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna ask, Major Curry and, Tim Manus, from our office, I'm actually gonna ask him to come up, because he's done a lot of work on this warranty thing. At maybe 2 meetings ago, I think staff was asked to go back and take a look at the body scanning warranties between the two companies. So Tim's gonna fill you on what he found out. I think he's got a nice table there in the actual agenda item that spells out pretty clearly now what the cost is and what you're getting for your money in terms of warranties. So I'll turn it over to him.
So the last time we were here, we were talking about warranties. That was on April the 25th. The Tech 84, they had offered a warranty where we could lock in at $7,500 per year for up to 5 or 6 years if we paid up front. Whereas the Clear Pass, they were charging $10,500, but would only honor 1 year above and beyond the first year. Since then, the Clear Pass has agreed to do 4 additional years, so 5 total at 10.5 times 4 paid up front. So they've extended that a little bit. Both of these warranties are what I would call bumper to bumper. So right now you're looking at 5 years total for the Clear Pass versus up to 7 years for the Tech 84. From everything I've seen, both pieces of equipment are very good quality. I spoke to 3 sheriff's offices or detention centers around the local area in reference to the Tech 84, and then I spoke to 1 in Cherokee County in reference to the Clear Pass. The one in Cherokee, the Clear Pass is only in Cherokee County at this point in time, and the reason for that is the vetting process by DHHS is pretty stringent, so it took a little while to get the pre-approval, and now you'll probably see more of those. So now it's just a choice of, which one you might like better as far as price and warranties, which one Sheriff's Office think might be the best. And the only other thing I'll add is the Clear Pass, the folks at Point Security, which is the local vendor, would be servicing that, and they're just a stone's throw away from the detention center. Whereas the Tech 84 folks, they had to physically send somebody in to work on the piece of equipment, they would come from Georgia. The things that I've heard from 3 sheriff's office, Randolph, Rowan, and Forsyth counties, they've all used the Tech 84, haven't had any issues. If they did have some issues, they were able to troubleshoot over the phone and didn't require any in-person visits. Now, that said, all of those have only had their pieces of equipment 1 year or less. So I would hope a new piece would work, but that's all I have unless you all have questions for me.
Sheriff, which one do you want?
I like Point Security. I mean, they're local. Stay local. We get them. We need help with it. Help for anything.
It's enough for me. What's the price difference?
It's right there in the item about.
You're looking at the Clear Pass, which is Point Security, if you will, is $189,720 for 5 total years.
$189,720.
Yes, sir. The Tech 84 is $185,200 for a 7-year warranty. So it's a little less with a little more warranty. I do not know what the warranties might increase to after the extended period, and they are like I said, bumper to bumper, cover parts, labor, travel, etc. If there are some issues.
So one's got a 10-year warranty and one's got a
No.
7?
A 7 and a
7
5.
versus 5.
7 and a 5.
7 versus 5.
And what do we have now?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
That's right.
So this won't be adding to it?
Not adding to it, and both of these pieces of equipment are movable, so when the new detention, center comes online, it can be repurposed with little trouble.
Are you saying, Tim, that the cheaper one
He's from Georgia.
has got a longer, warranty on it?
Yes, sir. If we pay up front, you can get 6 additional years on top of the first year warranty, so 7 total for a little less money, because their warranty cost is $7,500 per year, whereas the Clear Pass is $10,500 per year.
And you said we're not guaranteed that they won't go up on that after.
That was the challenge. Originally, if you all recall, Clear Pass only wanted to do 1 year at 10.5, and we had no idea what type of inflators might be added on. I tried to get that information, and finally I spoke with the company representative, and he said I can do 4 additional upfront costs, 10.5, so $42,000 worth of warranties, to get the 5 years. After that, for both of those, we don't know what they'll do after the extended warranty period.
But the Clear Pass is the one y'all want.
I mean, you got local for any technical issues we may have, and we can contact them really quick. We've got all our scanners and stuff we use in the courthouse is with them, everything's with them.
So we already have stuff with them.
Point security, the local vendor will help with the radiation readings and that type of thing, because that's something they'll have to track and monitor. So,
Tim, when you said up front, is that up front each year, or do you pay the whole set?
these dollar amounts you see, the $189,720 and the $185,200, is the fees that would cover everything. There shouldn't be any more fees except for the symmetry reading fee, which is an annual fee. Beyond year 1, it's about $1,200 a year to monitor the radiation. It's based on how many badges are used. And then I believe I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe after a year or so that they can relax some of that as long as the piece of equipment's operating like it needs to, and they do emit very, very low levels of radiation. But that's coming from Health and Human Services.
Okay.
So the company up in our Cherokee that's using this unit, so have they had to call tech support, and have they had any issues with their scanner?
None of the 4 that I called total have had any issues. They said which they've only had it, a little less than a year or 2. But everybody's report, both of the pieces of equipment, from what I heard from all the sheriff's offices I called, said that they were working great, and it's been a good add to their detention centers.
So we have scanners with these folks now?
We do, scanners, we have the wands, and we have scanners in the enter the courthouse.
So do they have staff on site that can work on these units, or is this gonna be somebody from out of town that has to work on this unit?
My understanding, they work on them, they come in and will help us any problem we have set up or anything like that.
Because I guess and I don't know the reason, the majority of the people use this Tech 84, correct?
I'm sorry.
I said the majority of the jails use Tech 84 or whatever it's, the
Like
other
Tim
one.
said, the other one company's just now getting into the
Right, I
procurement
get it,
pro,
but
yeah. So
I'm
it
just saying, but the majority of the.
Locally, yes, sir.
counties.
They do have a presence in other states, other corrections facilities, and you'll probably see more in North Carolina, since they, I believe Cherokee was the first. There'll probably be more.
And you know where I'm going. I don't want to buy a lemon if it's something new on the market. We spend $180,000 and
That's not it's just new in North Carolina.
yeah. Okay. I'm good with whatever you want to do. Do we need a motion, Mr. Chairman?
So no more,
What did they decide? What did they say they preferred?
A point. Yeah.
The sheriff prefers the Clear Pass.
Clear path. Yeah. Do we need a motion, Mr. Chairman?
if there's no further discussion,
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we would purchase the ClearPass scanning system for the sheriff's office.
And it's also to approve the budget amendment, if that's okay.
And approve the budget amendment.
What they both said.
We got a second? Chris?
Yes, sir.
Have to cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Ready for the public hearings. Project Garden, I declare the public hearing open. Mr. Goodson, will you lead this off, please?
Commissioners, the EDC appreciates your support of our Davidson County existing industries, as always. Project Garden is one of those growing operations in Lexington. They are investing approximately $10 million in an expansion and will create a minimum of 5 new jobs. Those jobs will have an average wage of $47,500. Upon completion of their expansion and the first payment of their property tax on this investment, the EDC is requesting the county make a one-time grant of $25,000 to the company. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Anybody have
We've
any
done
questions?
this before.
We did it for BMK, America's Up and Welcome.
The lump sum payment instead of the incentives. So they get the $25,000 whether they perform or not.
No, they have to complete their expansion, pay their first property tax payment, and then they get the lump sum payment.
Okay.
Yep.
And they can do a minimum investment of $8 million?
Minimum of $8 million, but we're expecting it to be a little over $10 million. Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we approve the incentives to Project Garden as requested.
I'll second.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll second.
In long term, that's gonna be actually less than it would be if they've got the...
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's all they're requesting.
That's a good
Mr. Chair, can we hold off on the vote for a minute? I think we need to see if there's anyone in the audience who wants to speak in favor.
Yeah,
or-
right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go
Okay.
by that one.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either in favor of or in opposition to this request? If not, I declare the public hearing closed and repeat the motion, Commissioner McClure.
I've got the motion and the second in there, all y'all need to
Okay,
vote.
so you need a vote.
Sir.
All right.
And that motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Project renewed, declare the public hearing open. Mr. Goodson, will you lead us off?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another existing industry expansion, Project Renewed plans to invest $12,500,000 in a new hangar and maintenance and office operation at our airport. They will also be creating an additional 36 jobs. The average annual wage of those jobs will be little over $60,000 a year. The EDC is requesting a 5-year grant not to exceed $20,000 per year, provided the company meets the requirements of the grant agreement. This agreement is also less than what our typical annual term agreement would be, and the reason is the North Carolina DOT Aviation has awarded them a little over 1.7 million for upgrades to the airport to facilitate this project, and the state is also providing them with a community development block grant for this project, and the county has already agreed to a 25% match of that grant, which will be about $45,000 per year. So this keeps this grant keeps that about on par for what we should be offering.
So is it, the investment on the county's part would actually be 0016?
Yes, sir.
You said 36 jobs
Yes, sir.
at 60,000.
Average of $60,000 per year.
Wow, that's a total of about 2.1 million in.
Yes, sir. Very good project. Company is here already, and we would expect a lot of additional revenue for the airport and additional tax revenue for the county with this expansion.
That's why you gotta invest in the airport.
Yeah, you better believe it.
Leasing it. Yep. Thank you, Craig.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either in favor of or in opposition to this request? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion and a second to approve awarding the incentives to Project Renew as requested and authorize the expenditure of county funds pursuant to the agreement, and also to approve execution of the incentive agreement upon approval of this form by the county attorney's office. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
That's the vote.
All of the votes are in. That motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I have a rezoning request by James and Diana Tolentino in Arcadia Township containing 1.42 plus acres from CURC to RS. I declare the public hearing open. Mr. Crook, will you introduce the application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Tolentino is our first one.
Yes.
We do have two public hearings tonight. The first will be a request by James and Diana Tolentino to rezone 1.42 acres more or less in the Arcadia Township, tax map 7, lots 40 and 40A. Said property is located on the west side of North NC Highway 150, approximately 430 feet north of the Meadowlark Drive intersection at 10265 North NC Highway 150. Rezoning is requested to change from that of CURC, Conditional Use Rural Commercial District, to that of RS, Low Intensity Residential District. Many of you on the board may remember that Mr. Tolentino came before you folks, I think it was in 2018, and rezoned this, and he wanted to operate a lawn care business at this site. I'll let Mr. Tolentino explain why he no longer wishes to do that, but I think the end result is he wants to, he's already split the property in two and wishes to sell it for residential homes to be built on the property. And at this time, Mr. Tolentino, if you would please come up and explain why you wish to rezone your property.
Good evening, Commissioners. It was my intention to start a lawn care business, as I had conveyed the last time I was with you and before you in 2018. But it's been quite an ordeal to get workers. Nobody wants to work, and as a result, I've had to work the business myself, and that has its drawbacks, as you probably know. I can't generate the kind of business that I did when I had 6 employees and was running 3 trucks and was attempting to put a building on the site and, start the lawn care business. COVID came and just turned everything upside down, and as a result, I decided to go ahead and just break the property, parcel the property, and just sell it.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no one have any Further questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fleener.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either in favor of or in opposition to this request? If not, what is staff recommendation on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff would like to tender the application as part of the record into evidence, which includes staff analysis and recommendation. We would point out that the subject property is contiguous to the RS, which is the district that he wishes to proceed to, and that makes it compliant with Article 7 of the zoning ordinance. Also, this rezoning would comply with the land development plan for this portion of 150 is forecasted to grow residentially, not commercially. And we would recommend approval and ask you to adopt a statement of consistency, please.
Okay, any further discussion by the board?
I'll make a motion and...
I declare the public hearing closed. Commissioner Yates?
I'll make a motion with the statement of consistency included.
Second.
Okay. Cast your vote.
Motion to approve, that is, in case I didn't...
All of the votes are in, and that motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, we have a rezoning request for Vaughn and Jennifer Laloney, is that correct?
Alone, yes, sir.
In Thomasville Township, containing 3.4 plus acres from HC to RA3. I declare the public hearing open. Mr. Crook, will you introduce the application?
Thank you. We have a request by Vaughn and Jennifer Lalone to rezone property in Thomasville Township, tax map 342A, Block A portion of Lot 1 containing 2.3 acres more or less. Said property is located on the north side of Old US Highway 29, approximately 350 feet west of the Turner Road intersection. Rezoning is requested to change from that of HC Highway Commercial District to that of RA3 Rural Agricultural District. If you please divert your attention to the overhead, there's an existing residence on this property right here. The Lalones wish to purchase this entire tract, and because there's a lending institution involved, they want the entire property zoned RA or some type of residential zoning in order to complete the loan. To acclimate you, there's a new Dollar General right here. Here's Highway 29, Caldeclue Road, and so I will let them come up and explain their request if they would at this time, and then reserve staff comment for later.
Did we rezone this not long ago, or is this another piece close by?
This has been, to my knowledge, zoned this way since the early 70s. Yeah.
I remember we done a piece in here somewhere. Maybe it was a
we
piece.
Did. We rezoned this piece right here, and we rezoned this piece right here. So
on the right,
is that where the Dollar General is?
Right beside it, yes, sir.
Right beside it, the Dollar General.
Thank you very much for taking our request. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for everything. We're in the process of purchasing this home. It's going to be our family home, and we plan on raising our family for the rest of our lives there and take care of our grandkids. That's pretty much everything in a nutshell. Basically what we want to do. I'm sorry, I just get nervous.
Be fine.
That's fine. That's good enough.
That's cut and dry. Thank you.
Okay.
All we need. Thank you.
Amen.
My pleasure.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either in favor of or in opposition? You have to come up to the mic there.
I'm in favor that you do that for residential, for them, residential 3, I think, is what I'm saying.
Ma'am, you need to give them your name.
Oh, excuse me, my name is Dawn Hash. As a realtor, I think that the county, that particular location, I'm very familiar with, and it did take a long time to get it sold, but it does have a house on it, and it's got a lot of square footage, and it does deserve a family. So I'm in favor.
Okay,
Not
Dawn.
that you really care, but I am.
Okay. Mr. Crook, what is the staff recommendation on this?
Again, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would, again, wish to submit the application that includes staff's recommendation as part of the record and evidence. This one was a little more difficult to recommend because Highway 2970 is an economic development corridor. But as part of that, Highway 2970 is also limited access. So all of these properties that are along 2970 have no frontage along 2970. So staff is fine with keeping the commercial interchanges at the intersections. To access this, you're going to have to come off of 2970, and this is the first house that establishes a residential pattern here that goes for several miles. So staff, it is contiguous to the district which they seek an RA3, which makes it compliant with the zoning regulations. And there are some other policy statements in the land development plan that does support this. So we would recommend approval and ask that you adopt a statement of consistency as well, please.
East of this property is residential, isn't it?
Just about all the way to Thomasville.
Yeah,
There's a few pieces of commercial in there, but the prevailing pattern is residential.
Okay.
And this is where it starts.
Any further discussion by the board? Now I declare the public hearing closed, and may I have a motion and a second to either approve or deny the rezoning request and to adopt the resolution on statement of consistency.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve with the statement of consistency.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, cast your vote.
All of the votes are in, and
Congratulations.
that motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Where does the driveway to that lot come in?
It's on Old
Right on
29.
Old 29?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, before you get to Turner Road, I think.
Right past Turner Road, between Turner Road and the highway.
Right in there.
Okay.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, folks. Thank y'all.
Thank you. As approved, thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Okay, this question to the board before we get started with the budget public hearing. Does anyone need to go take a 5-minute recess? If not, we'll continue on.
Y'all not leaving, are you?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, public hearing on proposed 2022-2023 Davidson County budget. I declare the public hearing open. Mr. Smith, would you lead this off, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last meeting, the board received the county manager's recommended budget. Tonight is the public hearing for the budget where we receive feedback and input from the public, and I think members of our school board and our superintendents are here as well. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to you and those folks as well.
Okay. Okay, all right. Before we get started, any questions by the board, Mr. Smith? Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of or on behalf or about the budget? If it is, either way. Yeah, either way, Polly. I started just like I did the other. I'm sorry, Don. Okay.
You follow the super.
Sure. Okay. Please identify yourself, please.
Sure. Anitra Wells, Superintendent, Lexington City Schools. I want to first and foremost say thank you all for everything that you do for the school districts here in Davidson County and especially Lexington City Schools. We appreciate the increase in our ADM this year. We are able to project use of those dollars for a distance learning lab at our high school, where our kids who are enrolled in Davidson Davie Community College classes can come back to the school in the event that they are transitioning between class periods. And it also provides us, or will provide us, with a space for those kids who are currently taking North Carolina virtual public school courses. So we'll actually have a lab space for those students. We are also looking at adding a position at our middle school to provide some supports to our children who sometimes fall through the cracks. We'll be identifying about 40 or 50 of those kids that we can have a person who will track them and make sure that they are continuing their education as they are, or as would be appropriate for them. We are looking at, as you will hear from my colleagues, we are looking at increases in pay for employees. We have to provide a minimum of $15 per hour for a lot of our classified employees. It's either $15 an hour or 2.5% increase in their salaries, and this money will help us to do that. We are looking at providing, redoing windows at Pickett Elementary School, roofing at South Lexington and Pickett, some upgrading to some of our playgrounds, and a security upgraded card system at our schools throughout the district. So we appreciate the support that we receive from the county for everything that we do. Without your funding, we would not be able to provide and meet the services and the needs for students of Lexington. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Emily Light, Davidson County Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I would like to begin this evening by thanking each of you for your continued support of Davidson County Schools. It's become more evident than ever before the critical role that our schools play in the lives of all of our students. And on behalf of our school district and our Board of Education, I want you to know how much your support means as we strive to meet the very diverse needs of all of our students. Additionally, I would like to express our gratitude for your recognition of the good work we are doing with students in our district, as evidenced by the increase in per pupil spending for the 2022-2023 school year. Throughout this past year, we have made noticeable and necessary upgrades with our capital funding to our aging facilities. We have completed roofing projects at Ledford Middle School, as well as repaired and replaced many of our HVAC systems, and we want you to know how much we rely on the funding you designate to us for these projects and countless others. Recently, we have all received emergency funding from the state and federal governments, and there's no doubt that we continue to have needs that we must utilize local funding, specifically, as Dr. Wells mentioned, addressing the salary compression issues of our non-certified staff due to mandatory salary increases, as well as the increased cost of both state and both teacher and state employees' retirement and the state health plan. In Davidson County Schools, just those three alone will total more than $3 million just to address the compression issue as well as the increase to our insurance and our retirement. A concern I continue to have, as well as other superintendents I'm sure, is recruiting and retaining the very best teachers and administrators to serve our students. And this too becomes increasingly challenging every year as we work to compete with neighboring school districts. And this year we have analyzed our local supplements compared to 17 other systems in the Piedmont Triad, and we continue to make a commitment to doing all we can to stay and to be competitive with those other districts. I'm very proud to share with you that in spite of the challenges and the interruptions that we've faced recently to our educational environment, that on most recent test scores, 100% of Davidson County School elementary schools met or exceeded growth in third grade reading. 90% of student subgroups met or exceeded growth in math. And I'm most proud that 92% of all kindergarten through 12th grade teachers, as part of last year's accountability, met or exceeded growth with students. So again, we have great people doing the very best they can to educate our students. We're continuing to work on creating safe and inviting schools for all, which encompasses a focus on bullying prevention. We do utilize anonymous reporting programs so that students and parents may report instances of bullying or safety concerns, and those are investigated and addressed at the school level. As a district, I am proud to say that with the support of our Board of Education and tireless efforts of our school leadership and staff, we opened our schools as soon as allowed by the governor and kept them open for the maximum amount of time possible. Even when faced with staffing shortages across the district, we were steadfast in our commitment to keep our students in school. The challenges remain great, and as we continue to work together to recover from the interruptions we have faced in education since the spring of 2020, I promise you we will continue to work toward providing the very best educational experience for all students in Davidson County and greatly appreciate the working relationship that we have with this Board of Commissioners. Thank you again for your support.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. My name is Kate Gentry. I'm the superintendent of the Thomasville City Schools, and I apologize, I'm a little under the weather. I do want to echo what my colleagues have said. I do want to thank the board for their continued support and the advancements made in the operating funds for our 3 public school systems in Davidson County. These additional funds will do much to help mitigate what we expect to be some significant shortfalls from the state regarding our classified employees' salaries and the increases that we have seen 5 to 8% every year over the last 10 years for benefits, retirement, and other things associated with salaries. So thank you for that support. In addition, these operating funds help us operate everything from our junior ROTC program, which is not only offered to Thomasville City School students, but also each year we bring in 8 to 10 students from East Davidson and Ledford to join us in those programs. These local funds also help us maintain our graduation, basic things like mileage and postage, our supplements for our teachers, which we continue to work to make competitive with our competing districts in the area. And they also help us maintain Finch Auditorium, which is a great facility that is open to the public, but is owned and maintained solely by the Thomasville City Schools. As far as our capital funds go, we do want to continue to keep our buildings up and continue to improve our grounds. I would like to give you an update on a couple of projects that we have completed. The roof on the Thomasville High School Gymnasium, the HVAC for the Thomasville High School Gymnasium, our district-wide technology projects where we implemented new smart boards in all of our classrooms across the district over the last 3 years, and also some upgrades to bathroom fixtures. This is pre-COVID. We will use some of our COVID funds to complete other schools so they have the automated things. 3 of those 4 projects came in under budget, so we're looking to roll over those funds into some additional projects for next year. Also, just want to talk about, we are on our 2nd school in our LED lighting project. We are seeing decreases in our energy bills of close to $2,000 per month, so those projects are definitely going to pay for themselves very soon. So thank you for supporting those projects and for some of the things we do in the future. As our colleague said, we are coming off of, and I hate the word unprecedented because it's been overused in the last few years, but unprecedented times in education. I hate to say that we're getting back to normal, but we're getting back to something that looks like what we're used to in school, and we're very happy for that, and your support has helped us get there sooner rather than later. Continued growth, particularly in the area of operating funds, will help us prepare our students for all those great jobs that Mr. Goodson talked about earlier. So please continue that. I would request one thing to look for and partner with as we go into the future. Thomasville High School is a 60-year-old building. And it has really great bones, but it's a 60-year-old building. So one of the things that we will be coming to you with in the future is some ways to partner on upgrading that facility in addition to the career and technical building that we have taken on, the main part of the building as well. So thank you so much. We do appreciate you. And on behalf of our Board of Education and our chairperson, Dr. Sheridan Love, thank you for having us this evening.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
Well, contrary to popular belief, I'm not against the educational system. I'm not against teachers. I'm really not against anybody. But what I am against is lies and the fact that we are churning out some of the most ignorant children to date. Dr. Light shared some very riveting percentages. I printed off the report cards today off of the NC report cards for Davidson County Schools going back from 2016, before she took the helm of the ship, to current 2021, considering they haven't given us this year's. So, before she took the helm of the ship, 19% of students in 2016 and 2017 were not proficient in math. 19% in English, 10% in science, 16% in biology, English 2 18%, and Math 1 19%. 19% of the students that come out of the schools in 2016 to 2017 were not proficient in any of those areas. When we moved into 2017-2018, math moved from 19% to 20%, English moved from 19 to 21, science and biology stayed the same, so we're not seeing improvement. English went from 18% to 19%, and Math 1 went from 19% to 25%, not proficient. We move on to 2018 to 2019. Math stayed at 20%, not proficient. English stayed at 21%. Science jumped from 10% to 29%, not proficient. Biology didn't change, stayed at 16%. English 2 stayed at 19%. Math 1, 25% stayed, but Math 3 is 51% not proficient. That's pre-COVID, so we're not going to use that as an excuse, because that's what's been used as an excuse this entire time. 2019, 2020, no reports are available. So then we'll go into 2020, 2021. Math is 52% not proficient. That's astronomical. When you look at what math runs in the sector of living, 52% of the students in Davidson County Schools are not proficient in basic math. Those are your anesthesiologists, your bankers, your lawyers, your doctors, your pharmacists, things that really matter when it really comes down to brass tacks. Reading, 53% not proficient. Science, 29%. Biology, 51% not proficient. English, 40%. Math 1, 73% not proficient. Those are disgusting percentages to produce out of an educational system that wants more money for raises. Math 3, 54%. That alone should be enough for you to say, well, how much money does it take to educate kids? Because obviously they're not going in the right direction. We keep giving them money. We keep building schools. We've built one school since 2016. When you pull it off that, it went from 35 to 36, yet enrollment's dropping. The dropping of enrollment means dropping of funding. Make it make sense, because the math doesn't add up. If you're losing enrollment, you're losing funding, but you want more money. We don't run on Common Core out in the real world. We run on factual math. You can try and make it look good, but at the end of the day, it doesn't. It doesn't add up. That alone should make you think, well, what are they doing? Because they're obviously not learning anything. When the kids come out of a school system and do not understand basic biology, that you can't change your sex, and that everything we do in life runs on a male to female component, from their cars, to their food, to reproduction, to wire a house, to plumb a house, everything that we functionally rely on, and these kids rely on, run on male to female, but yet they're being taught that you can do that any way you want. It's not sustainable, and it's not factual. We can't continue to fund a system that teaches kids such asinine ideologies that will not sustain life, period. No reproduction of animals. Fruit and vegetable runs off male to female components. We cannot continue to fund a system that just shuts down all basic life. Now, it's nice that she said that it's very safe in the schools. considering there was a molestation at North High on the school bus this year. It's very nice that the kids are safe, considering there was a hit list at Central Davidson High School this past week with 24 students who was on a hit list. Doesn't sound safe to me at all. These kids are not safe in the schools. Things are being swept under the rug. I know I'm not a very well-liked citizen, and I really don't care. I didn't come out to make friends. I came out to stand for these kids. You got pornography in these school systems, not just in the libraries. They're assignments. And that's the reason why I came here, because we went to the Board of Education. We were mocked. They rolled their eyes. Nothing was done. We've been kicked out. We've been shut down. Laws have been broken repetitively. February meeting, Mr. Travers, who I don't know, but I'll speak on his behalf, was escorted out by the deputies because he wanted to advocate for his special needs child. He wanted 38 additional seconds to finish his statement to advocate for his son with Down syndrome. He was escorted out by the deputies on the call of our chairman of the Board of Education. We have 2 sitting Board of Education members who have special needs kids who did not speak up and say, that's inappropriate. But no, Alan took it one step further and went to the sheriff's department the next day and demanded Mr. Travers be charged and arrested. It's out of control. There is no sense that a man would be looked at that awful for wanting to stand and advocate for his son who had a special needs. It's disgusting to me. So I've pulled a lot of FOIA requests. I've got 5 3-inch binders of information. I would have loved to have brought them all today, but I'm one person and it was raining, and I don't need to ruin my evidence when that does come into play. Mr. Elliott had sent an email to our Board of Education in response to the pornography. Took some very stark heat. That was rather disgusting. I think there was a discussion in there about books that needed to be removed from our county library as well. Well, turns out, within our legal invoices that I FOIA requested, that Davidson County Schools has an MOU with the Davidson County Library. I did not have time to get that FOIA request to get that information, so I'm going to speak on assumption that that MOU allows our kids to have access to the county library as well. So if we are able to remove the pornography off the school shelves, they still have access through an MOU through our school system. So it's all or none. I've been told by Commissioner Elliott that there was talks of a permission slip being given for parents to opt out or opt in, whichever direction, to be able to check books out of the library, to try and appease the issue. And I told Commissioner Elliott I don't negotiate with terrorists. We're not here to ask for permission. We want the books out of the schools, period. It's a crime, and it's purely disgusting. And the fact that you had to shut me down with the information shouldn't even be a head turn or a blink for that to be stopped. You can't continue to fund a school system that is peddling the porn in the manner in which they are, and then fighting against it to not be stopped. Now, I did FOIA request, yet again, a bunch of stuff, but these are surveys that I find concerning. And I got 762 pages of those that I got to go through. These are just the highlights. This is given to middle school students. Please check your top 3 priorities of topics you wish to discuss in your classroom this year. Anxiety, bullying, career and college, friendship, goal setting. Please check 3 top priority topics to discuss in your small groups this year. Anxiety, communication, divorce care. There's others. What are 3 topics you wish your peers could learn more about? Anxiety, bullying. Seems like an overwhelming issue, they're trying to make kids think that they should have an anxiety issue. We have more kids to date who are on anxiety medications within our school system than ever before. I've been a staunch speak out against social emotional learning for at least a year now. I've took a ton of heat from those in the educational world that I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's weird because Glenn Beck did an entire special on it. I guess he doesn't know what he's talking about either. SEL is nothing more than CRT renamed. Here's a SEL survey. How would you rate your mental health pre-pandemic? How would you rate your mental health during the pandemic? How would you rate your mental health after the pandemic? They're not licensed healthcare providers. They're not licensed mental health care providers. Here's another survey. This provides assessment to your students at the beginning and the ending of each course. There are 35 questions. You will ask students to reflect on and assess their own social-emotional competencies for the purpose of informing social-emotional improvement efforts. So you just think about these 73% non-proficient in math. This is a survey at the end of their beginning and the end of their math class that is pertinent. I can control my attitude in a variety of situations. I can achieve a lot if I work for it. When I'm faced with a challenge or an obstacle, I can find resources or tools to help me succeed. I can express gratitude for the things I have and the opportunities in my life. I can learn the names of my classmates. I can think about what I want for my future and what it takes to get there. When I'm frustrated or feel like quitting, I can do what it takes to not give up. I can be honest, take responsibility when things go wrong. When I'm feeling stressed, I cope and calm down. I can set and achieve goals to help me be more successful. I could go on. What does that pertain to achieving math or English and science? It has nothing to do with education. It has to do with programming, period. That's all social emotional learning is. But this is what they want to focus on. They want to focus on if they can get our kids to control how they think they should be. That's not education. That's programming. End of the year student survey. This is 3rd through 8th grade. I know how to contact the school counselor. There were things I needed from the school counselor. Guidance lessons were fun. Is there anything else that you need to know about the school counselor? Not one time is there a question about, did you talk to your parents? Because we don't matter to the school system. They're shutting us out. We did not have children to send to school to be educated, then have our rights revoked and removed and completely shut out of every process for our kids. There's tutoring. Students are tutoring. Shouldn't be tutoring. That's why we pay educators to educate. Third through 5th. I can talk to a school counselor. I can talk to a principal, teacher, or counselor. I can talk to teachers if I need to. Nowhere was there a parent named in that survey. The Tell Heart pre-reading questionnaire. If you commit a major crime, sooner or later you'll be caught. When you've done something wrong, it's agony to wonder if you'll be caught. All people share the same fears. Is it possible to love someone and kill that person? Is it possible to feel someone watching you, even if you can't see that person? Insane people cannot distinguish between what is real and what is not real. People who have committed crimes always act nervous. Why do they want to tell people and tell our kids and suggest that you can love somebody and kill them? I don't even know where that's in there. So this is K through 5. The soft start time in the classroom helps me get ready to learn. 85% of the students agreed with that. I have learned how to get along better with others because of our harmony lessons, which is just another form of CRT. I work with a teacher at least once a week in a small group. 52% of the kids get a one-on-one. I work with teachers at least once a week in a small group. 48%. K through 5. Now you'll see why we don't have anybody who wants to work. Do you have a calm down corner in your classroom? Do you know when it's okay to use a calm down corner? Have you ever used a calm down corner? Kids are not able to cope with anything in life anymore because the school system has perpetrated a psychological war against these kids to not understand what it means to put in work for what you want, and cope when it doesn't go right. No, we're going to give them a calm down corner. We now have mass students pushed out of these school systems who cannot function in daily life. Hold down a job, we see that. The guy just said it, couldn't find nobody to work. But no, we're going to continue to fund them. I know an adult at school I can talk to if I have problems. Do you have an adult at school you can talk to if you need? Who's your go-to person? In order for me to be your counselor, I should know. Tyro Middle, I feel sad, anxious, and depressed most days of the week. Will you help me find a counselor outside of school to help me with my problems? No parent mentioned in that, not at all. Because we don't need to know that our child has an issue. Grades 1 through 2 at Midway Elementary. I belong. Yes or no? What first and second grader needs to question that they belong? You're setting a seed. Setting a seed to make them think that they don't belong. They have grief and loss groups. I've been through 762 pages of these surveys, and the majority of them has no mention of a parent. We didn't have kids to give them a retirement plan. We entrusted them to educate our kids and not program them into be social justice warriors. They're there to be taught math, history, English, and science. But now we're going to have kids that are turned out of a school system who will not even understand basic English with pronouns. When Richie has to take an account for someone who had a crime committed against them, and they say, well, they assaulted me. Well, who's they? Well, they's one person in this ideology of this world. They're not going to function in society, in the workforce, if they don't understand proper pronouns and how you write sentences. You cannot fund a system that fundamentally is broken and trash. I could go on, but at the end of the day, I've been here enough, and I've been at the Board of Education meetings now for a solid year, standing and advocating for kids. And I've told many of you, that is our tomorrow. That is who's going to take care of you in your assisted living when you're unconscious in a hospital and you can't advocate for yourself. Those are the ones going to be in your taxes. They can't even count. They're going to be our legislature, for Christ's sake. They don't even understand they implies more than one. You cannot continually fund a system that has ruined our future. Not do it with good conscience. Now, I looked at the proposal from Cooper. He has proposals in there for them to get raises. Let Cooper give them a raise. They were given ungodly amounts of money. Ungodly amounts of money. But managed to spend $38,000 on crotchless panties to adorn kids' faces to stop the spread of an airborne communicable disease from airborne-driven instruments. No, they don't allocate funds well at all. They'd have $38,000 if they didn't do that. Our kids didn't get fed. It's pure insanity to give them $57 million more dollars for them to just literally piss it away.
Okay, anyone else will speak?
It's hard to follow that, gentlemen and ladies. I'm going to make this short because I did pray and really agonize over the situation. It's very grave for us. And I'll try to get through it without crying. First and foremost, I want to apologize to every student and ask their forgiveness. We're better than this. We are better than this. Each one of us are better than this. You don't need a PhD to determine what's going on in these schools. That's wrong. You know, I had to look back and just say, God, what do I need to do? And then I started looking at each individual commissioner and what you bring to the table. It's get to know your commissioner day. Steve, I'm going to start with you. You got a lot of acronyms and highly decorated. I honor you. U.S. Department of Justice and U.S. Secret Service. Law enforcement training, continuing education as approved by North Carolina Department of Insurance and Private Protective Services. What does that mean? You're a licensed private investigator. I hope it's current. Because you need to do some investigating. There's a lot of people sitting on this board right now that bring a lot to the table. Chris Elliott, I love Chris Elliott. He took a lot of darts during this time. And I want to apologize to you, Chris. Because he stood with a lot of the others. And he was called names for trying to protect the children away from all the smut. But he stood. And we watched him. He stood. Associate pastor. I want you to know that means a lot to me. Commissioner James Shores. Served in the United States Marine Corps. Served in Desert Storm, Operation Restore Hope in Somalia. After leaving the military, Commissioner Shores entered into the law enforcement and has been a law enforcement officer 26 years. Patrol supervisor with the Thomasville Police Department. You come with a lot of information. I'm looking at you. There's a reason. You're a sworn officer. And you're a sworn officer 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. Doesn't go away when you go to Thomasville. Sworn officer. Fred McClure. I honor you, Fred. Didn't know this much about you, but you served 4 years in the United States Air Force. You're a flyboy. 4 years in the United States Navy. I bet you look good. Because they wore those uniforms proudly. I know the Navy, although we were in the Air Force. But we are friends. Those men look good in the white. 6 years in election and National Guard unit. I honor you. Completed 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. I honor you. You were never welcomed home. I remember. I honor you. You also bring a lot to the table. Don Trull, I honor you. A degree in accounting, business college. You attended University of Louisville, and I'm going to assume that's Kentucky. I like Kentucky. Got family members in Kentucky. Graduated from Southern Police Institute, University of North Carolina Institute of Government, focusing on police administration. He was commissioned a Kentucky colonel by Kentucky Governor Julian Carroll and received the Order of the Longleaf Pine from North Carolina Governor Mike Easley. Now, what I found amazing about Brother Trull, he was employed as a circulation manager for a newspaper and reporter of the Thomasville Times. I'm going to assume that's when we had good news and correct news. You also began service with the Thomasville Police Department as a detective. Once a detective, always a detective. You bring a lot to the table, sir. I want to honor you. You also were chief of, Vice Chairman Trull became chief of the Thomasville City Police Department in '80 and served until 1994. You also were elected mayor. Didn't know that. Get to know your commissioners today. Karen Watford, I honor you. You were a teacher. I love teachers, by the way. Got a special place in my heart for them. I had them out of the nation, in the nation, many states. They all were the same when I was a kid. They had their Bible on their desk every morning. We had scripture and we had prayer. There's a difference of what we have right now. So I honor you. Todd Yates. Mr. Yates, I can honestly say I didn't know you till I read your bio today. You attended public school in Georgia. And by the way, I like Georgia. I've been there. It's hot. But they're sweet people, got sweet tea. Love the Georgia peaches.
Good peaches as well.
Yes, sir. You have your own business, grading business, paving business, operation for 25 years. You're president of J.P. Yates Construction. You also fly. I'm glad to know that, brother, in case you ever have to take me somewhere. But I do get sick flying, won't you know. Now, having said that, I'm a commonsensical granny. And I do apologize to the students. They don't have a voice. They don't know how to be critically thinking about what's being presented to them. And this is a pivotal point. Our county, this past 2 years, saw the parents stand advocating for their precious children. We saw parents shut out, kept out of the school board meetings. Davidson County deputies used to intimidate the parents, the grandparents, the voters, the taxpayers, simply for exercising their rights to advocate and protect their precious children. We experienced parent civil rights trampled on with such blatant disregard to the United States Constitution. We saw our children suffer extreme mental abuse right before our eyes. We saw our families, employees, and our flag, under assault and attack in this nation as well as this county. I'm not here to be a demagogue against the schools, but we clearly have a problem. We wouldn't have come to you if the problems would have been addressed and not being arrogant towards the parents. There was no repentance. There was no I'm sorry, I'm fixing it. No communication. We may say we've got a communication problem, And you didn't know what was happening until we brought it before you. They can have their federal funding, they can have their state funding, but unless and until they remove everything that is, we've been out here at, showing you, reading it, we didn't want to read it. I didn't want to hear it. Broke my heart. I cried. I cried. These are innocent children. You know, and I told the Lord, I said, what can I do? We respectfully demand you hold the over and above funds until each Davidson County Commissioner, each Davidson County BOE can legally attest under sworn testimony under the penalty of perjury in writing to the Davidson County citizens, you have done your job to save our children. All pornography, obscene, indecent, profane material, CRT, transgender, harmony, I think it's CSE or CES, sodomy, but not limited to because there's others, are taken out of the schools. Now, I've read your bios before the community. A lot of people here sitting in these seats that can do these investigations. We got November coming up. You may think your seat is safe. Not so much. Not so much. It's not a threat. Because now is the time to see mice or men, and men rise to the occasion and say, I will do for these children. See, you're not doing it for me. I've lived my life. But it's time that you do it for the children, your future. And I'm not even against Mrs. Light. I'm against the pornography and the filth that's in the school. Quite frankly, I'm getting a little tired. But I told the Lord I'll fight this battle until He calls me home. So if that means I show up and they shut me out again at the Davidson County School Board, so what? If you drag me in the streets and you kick me in the head, so what? I'm going to show up for the children. They don't have a choice. But every one of you here that I've mentioned in your bio, you bring a lot to the table. And you will not be able to say you didn't know, because now you know. And if you fund this and you don't get it out of the school system, you're aiding and abetting a crime. I'm just going to be up front with you. I don't care what your attorney says. You're aiding and abetting. Now, what you said to your attorney, I won't be able to get, but I can assure you whatever you said in public, we can get. And I'm going to challenge you tonight. Don't go home and just slough it off. Don't pass this budget, other than the federal money and the, state money. So what? They'll go back, they'll redo their budget. We've all had to do that. But I'm asking for the children. Hold the money over and above. There's first responders here, and I think they're 911 telecommunications. Maybe they need that money. I would support that. I'd support that. In fact, I'll stand with them. They deserve that pay raise. I'm not against the teachers, but see, the teachers were silent when this happened, and nobody was strong enough to stand up for the students. But there's going to be a lot of them taken out of the schools because we're fed up. We're fed up. So where's the money going then? I don't know how we're going to fix it, but there's hope through Jesus Christ. Because all this lying and deception, and they're really good at it until you start pulling a lot of information. And we all know how it works. You can drag it out, and there could be a lot of civil rights attorneys taking these cases on. But I'd like to work it out. But I want to work it out where everybody can hear it and see it. and we all stand under oath before God Almighty, only one God, Jehovah God. Because if you want this county to get through what's coming next, when they're burning everything, you want the face of God on this county so we can survive it together, brothers and sisters. I'll still come to your house when you're hungry. I'll still come to your door and pray with you. You're my brothers and sisters. I love this country. I love our flag, but there is a problem, and you know it. Nobody's willing to admit it. Great tears. I apologize to the children. I apologize. School shouldn't be like this. I remember going to school and opening up the book and smelling the ink. How tickled I was to get a book. See my friends. And you know, my teachers, I can remember their names, their children's names, because they loved me. They protected me. Right now, not so much. But what I do want to do is challenge your heart. I want to challenge who you are as men and women. Are you a man and a woman, or are you mice? Now's the time to stand. We'll remember it for the next election. Trust me. We'll make sure you don't get in, because we'll play it back. We'll play it loud and proud. Because I figured, well, heck, Granny's going to go all over the Davidson County. I'll tell them all. It's time. Don't you think it's time we stand together and we say, sorry, we'll give you everything that the state gives you and the federal government gives you, but we're not going to give you the over and above. The telecommunications needs it, right? They need it. They're leaving left and right. Let's let them have it this time. And maybe it'll bring all the public education, which right now is indoctrination, back into place where they need to be. And I'm so thankful you allowed me to speak tonight, and I hope you didn't shut my feet off, because there's a lot of people at home that want to hear if you're fixing the problem. And I bless you in Jesus' name, but we got to work together. And I ask Him to forgive all of us. All of us. Because I know what's coming. And it's going to be bad, and we're going to have to get through it as brothers and sisters. But you're sworn. You are sworn to uphold the law. And these are felonies. Hold the money. We're going to request you hold that over and above money. If they cry, let them cry. It's like a impetuous child. Well, I'm just going to throw a fit. We'll throw a fit. They'll hold their breath for a while, and they'll maybe cuss you. But you hold your shoulders back, and you do what's right. Tell them to hold. You're going to hold the money. Because I am here to demand you hold the money. So, at this time, once again, I just want to say it before I leave here. We respectfully demand you hold the over and above funds until each Davidson County Commissioners and each Davidson County BOE can legally attest under sworn testimony, under the penalty of perjury in writing to the Davidson County citizens, you have done your job to save our children from all pornography, obscene, indecent, profane materials, CRT, transgender, harmony, CSE, sodomy, but not limited to, because I'm sure there's other stuff they're trying to hide. Perhaps give that money to the 911 Communications Center and the first responders. Once again, I'm going to leave you with this. Think about it. Are you men or mice? Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you, Don. Anyone else? Miss Blankenship?
Yep.
Ah,
Yeah, I know it is. Sorry. Your first name, ma'am? Crystal Blankenship. So I would strongly suggest that y'all look at the budget that you're looking to overpass. Davidson County Schools has failed our kids. We have the meals that are being fed to our kids are not fit. My son, he's come home and said They've gotten milk that's been spoiled, food that, like a beef jerky and a tater tot. That was what they got for lunch. I have nieces that go to a high school. There's days that if they don't get to their luncheon time, they don't get it. So how are we going to give the schools more money when they can't feed our kids? Like, they need to have their budget worked out to make sure each kid is fed. It's not right. We have plenty of kids that go to school, and that may be their only meal, and they're not getting it. So along with that, the bullying, I know Ms. Lipe said something about bullying. It's everywhere, and it has gotten really bad, and they're not doing anything about it. Not local at the schools, not at the county office. They're not taking this very seriously. This year alone, my son has been punched in the back, in the arm, pushed down on the playground. When we ask about what happens to the other kid, they tell us they can't tell us what happens to the other kid, that goes against their privacy. Another kid in his class got stabbed with a pencil. That kid is still in the class, but do you think that the other parents were notified of the situation in the class? They weren't. I have another kid that I pick up in the morning, and he told his mom that he no longer wants to live. And he's a first grader. So he was being bullied in class, hitting in the head with water bottles. Now, let me just give you a background on his teacher, who is not a board-certified teacher. She has a degree in criminal justice, and she cannot handle these kids. She is not fit to be a teacher. And she's allowing this to go on in her class, these kids to be bullied day in and day out. The books that are in the school, I've already been here before about the books. Please look at these books. I don't know what else we need to do to tell y'all to help us out. But I cannot see you giving the Board of Education more money when all of these things are happening. And they're not wanting to work together with parents to make a solution. I really ask that y'all do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Anyone else?
Reiterate one last thing. Oh, you go ahead. You go ahead.
My name is Bill Gilliland. I live in Lexington. I'm a county DSS retiree and currently contract with the county serving as the coordinator of the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, and this is called VITA, Free Income Tax Preparation Program. I'm here because my contract is not in the proposed budget for renewal for next year. I've been told that's because the county can no longer afford to fund my contract and by extension the VITA program. I want to make sure you know what I do and share information that I hope will convince you to reconsider and renew my contract. VITA was started by DSS Director Catherine Lambeth in partnership with the IRS 19 years ago. I've been the coordinator of the program for 17 years. 12 years it was part of my DSS job, and I've been the contractor for 5 years. The program focuses on low to moderate income taxpayers. Ms. Lambeth started the program after a request from North Carolina DHS that counties look at promoting VITA. I believe she felt that clients served through VITA were likely many of the same clients served by DSS, and the money saved with free tax preparation would be just enough to keep them out of DSS. There was also some IRS data at that time showing a significant amount of earned income tax credit that was not being claimed by county residents. In 19 years, Davidson County VITA sites have done over 27,600 returns and generated over $32,750,000 in federal refunds. I found that it takes about an average of an hour to do a return, so that 27,600 is about the amount of volunteer hours that have been given to the county. I'm not a tax professional, but I've been a human services professional for 37 years. Have extensive experience with both program and organizational budgets. And in budgeting, as you well know, both income and expenses should be considered, and it's my observation that county programs only consider the expense side as income goes directly to the county, is not factored in when looking at a specific program. The VITA program has gotten grant funds since before I became the coordinator, and for the last several years it's been IRS VITA grants. This year we'll receive $13,500. Last year it was $14,000, and for the last 6 years the county has also gotten $2,500 each year from the community college to the cover support we've provided to a free tax site at the college. I prepared an income statement, and I'm going to give you a copy of it when I finish. For the VITA program, last year, the fiscal year 2021, the tangible loss to the county was $3,250. I say tangible because I believe other anecdotal income must be factored in. For example, the national average cost for a paid return is around $200. If you assume half of that would leave the county, then it stands to reason that this money stays in Davidson County when a return is completed through VITA. In 2021, we completed 1,250 returns, meaning approximately $125,000 was saved and most likely spent in the county by our clients. If it was just considered to be spent on food, then the 2% sales tax brought in $2,500 in additional income to the county, means the county cost was less than $750 for the VITA program in 2021. If the program ends, I believe there would be an increase in the numbers of those who would not do a return at all or who would try to do it themselves and not get it right. Another factor that needs to be considered is the value of the volunteer hours. The VITA grant requires dollar for dollar matching funds, but volunteer hours can be used to meet this requirement. This year, using the hourly rate approved by the IRS, our 1,530 VITA volunteer hours had a value of $29,000. Also, our volunteers this year have given 171 years of service to this program. Yes, there are free online options, but it has been my observation that most of our population is not computer savvy, and those who are scared to death to try to do their own tax thing. Many don't even have access to a computer, and yes, they could do it in a library computer lab, but the county public Wi-Fi network is not considered secure. VITA has also been associated with the community college tax accounting class for over 10 years, and this relationship has provided in-person experiential learning for future accounting professionals and helped us do more returns. I'll close by saying that human services programs cannot all be about money. The difference they make in people's lives must be considered. VITA provides a lot of help and mental relief to low-income taxpayers. As discussed, the dollar cost is minimal, and continuing to support the VITA program is simply the right thing to do. Ending that support would be detrimental to the lives of thousands of citizens and a likely unpopular decision to do so. Thank you. And here's a budget that I did, the income statement for the program for 2021.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, sir. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Could I ask him one question?
Yes.
Thanks, Bill.
I wanted one question answered. When you talk about your VITA sites, where are the sites, where are your locations?
Started out in a community, as more of a community program. Community Action had a site. There was one at Lexington Housing, one at the Housing CDC. Those were pretty much not really prepared by volunteers, but by staff people. There was a site at the college. Catherine Lambeth wanted somebody at the college to take over the site, and they weren't willing. after my first year, and at the same time, we got a new library director, Ruth Ann Copley, and she really wanted us, and so in tax year 2007, I think we moved to the library. So we're at the libraries mostly. Since then, that's really helped our numbers increase. Unfortunately, over the last 3 years, we've lost some volunteers. We're no longer at West Davidson or North Davidson, but we primarily at Thomasville and Lexington libraries, and have a pretty good team at Denton who do a lot of work down at the Denton Library. About 6 years ago, the college, with their single stop program, wanted to add a site, and kind of reluctantly joined them, and they are, as an MOU with them, we provide some support to them. They do pay their preparers, but they have some grant money that does that, and then they give the county a little bit of that for the support we provide.
So we do represent in Denton also then?
Right.
To some degree?
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Sandy Motley. I am a Davidson County resident. I live in the High Rock Lake area of Denton. There's your papers, Bill. But for 30 years, I've been the director at Davidson Medical Ministries. I do have a couple of areas of the budget that I wanted to just bring to your attention and share some of my concerns about. I have been making it a point for the last year to attend the commissioners' meetings. I wanted to know how our county was operated. Medical Ministries has never been a county entity. We are a private nonprofit. So I felt like I needed to know more about how the county operated. So I've made it a point of coming, and it's been a learning experience. But this has been my first ever time of really stopping to look at the budget and how the budget is put together and where that money goes. As I mentioned, Davidson Medical Ministries is a private nonprofit. We serve Davidson County residents who are uninsured. We are partnered with a federal agency called Contegra Health, where we also serve the underinsured and Affordable Care Act insured individuals, and we provide health care to all of those individuals, about 4,000 of them in Davidson County and 15,000 encounters this past year. But I'm not here to ask for funding for Davidson Medical Ministries. We managed to raise the money that we need, and with our partnership with Contegra, we do get some federal dollars from patient reimbursement and pharmacy reimbursement, and we are able to apply for some state funding as a result of that. So we are grateful for all of that. But there is this unwritten rule with the county commissioners that you don't fund nonprofits, and that bothers me a lot, because the nonprofits in Davidson County do a lot of great work for the people that you are supposed to be serving. As I'm looking at the budget, we submitted a grant request this year. I just happened to be looking through the budget as a point back earlier in the year, and realized that on January 25th in the budget process, there's a line item that says issue packets to not-for-profit requests. And I'm going, been here 30 years. Nobody's ever issued me a packet. Wonder why. Then on February 25th, you're supposed to return those packets. So I actually emailed Jason and said, how do I get one of those packets? And he gracefully sent me one, and I completed it. Not for Davidson Medical Ministries clinic services, but for the DC Connect project that I came and talked to you about in February. DC Connect is a program that we have been trying to launch since the end of 2019. Davidson Medical Ministries was able to get a grant to fund a year-long strategic plan to improve access to care for those that are homeless, that are suffering with substance abuse, those who are post-incarceration, and then primarily we decided, well, we just need to do it for anybody that needs help with referrals to community resources. Davidson County has a lot of community resources, but most of us work in a silo, and we don't know what each other does because there's no connectivity. So DC Connect is a process of being able to connect all of those resources together so that our citizens that are in need are not being asked to run here, run there, do this, do that, fill out paperwork 15 times to try to get some help. DC Connect would allow them to get the assessments that they need, to get a case plan put together, to hopefully be able to be attached to a volunteer peer mentor support that we would train to be those people, and to be able to follow them through that process so they don't get lost. The standing joke is that you can get lost from the hospital in Lexington to Department of Social Services or to the health department. Never mind, it's a straight shot down Main Street, but people get lost in the shuffle trying to get from one department to another, one agency to another to try to get help. So we asked for $65,000 to fund a community health worker. Those are the folks who are going to be responsible for actually doing the work of DC Connect. Shortly after the grant was completed and the strategic plan was finalized, well, COVID happened. And for 2 years, nonprofits didn't get any money because that money was going to COVID relief. And if you wasn't tied to the government agencies that was giving you the COVID money, you weren't going to be getting any. Well, we were fortunate. We did get COVID money through our association with the North Carolina Association of Free and Charitable Clinics. So we did okay during that period of time. But in 2021, our board did another strategic plan, and they decided that DC Connect was important enough that they were going to put some money to it to make it happen. We had not been able to get the 501c3. We contacted the person you wanted us to contact, and they turned us down. We tried to get an attorney to do it. Everybody was too busy or didn't have enough help or couldn't get it all done. So our board decided that the best way to get DC Connect launched was to launch it as a program of Davidson Medical Ministries. So we did that. So currently, right now, my role as Executive Director of Davidson Medical Ministries is also the Program Director for DC Connect. All I needed was another job to do, but I got it. We have an executive assistant and a finance officer. All of those positions are in-kind donations to be used in DC Connect as needed. We hired a community health worker also with DMMC money. So those are 4 positions that are funded and being in-kind gifted to DC Connect to be used as we are needed to make this a reality. Our board appropriated $100,000 of a $300,000 allocation that we got from the state, which we didn't even know we were getting. I could just considered it a blessing. But we got the $300,000, and we ended up actually appropriating $130,000 to DC Connect to help it get started. That's not including the in-kind salaries that I've already mentioned. But we need to hire another community health worker that is bilingual, because the one that we hired, we have now maxed her out in what she can do just between the 2 clinics that Davidson Medical Ministries Clinic operates. we need to hire a volunteer coordinator and trainer. If DC Connect is going to work, those peer mentor support volunteers have to have a coordinator and they have to be trained to do their job. So what we asked for was salary to help us with funding those positions for DC Connect. In addition to that, there's technology needs, there's supplies, there's utilities, all of that. Utilities are going to be in kind as well because they're going to work currently out of Davidson Medical Ministries 2 clinics, or they will be working out of an office of someone else. So basically what we're asking for, or asked for, which is not in the budget, is funding to be able to get those positions so that we can get DC Connect off the ground and actually serving the people of Davidson County. That was one area of the budget that I was concerned. By the way, I never heard back about the grant. Normally if I write a grant, I at least get a yeah, you got it, or a no, you didn't. What I got was, I looked in the budget and on page 150, there was DC Connect, 0 for a line. That was my rejection. Also, in looking at the budget, I noticed that the mental health budget is $37,500 less than last year. But ironically, mental health is the #1 community health needs assessment focus. How can we lessen the allocation by $37,500? But we did. I know that Sandhills, we switched MCOs, and Sandhills, I've been extremely impressed. We get no Sandhills money, just so you know. We don't get any Sandhills money, and all of the behavioral health that we provide to our uninsured patients who cannot afford to go get mental health on their own, we get no IPRS dollars for those, okay? Just for the record. But the decrease of $37,500, there are lots of other mental health providers in Davidson County besides Daymark. So what about family services? What about Nazareth Children and Family? What about Levine? What about us providing mental health to the people of Davidson County? The other one, which is a current sore spot for me, is the opioid settlement money that Davidson County is getting. We all know that substance abuse is not going away. We all know that substance abuse in Davidson County, we have the privilege of being always one of the top 10 counties in the state with the opioid problem. We're getting money. Already $1.5 million has been allocated to Davidson County for the opioid settlement. There's not been a meeting yet to work on any plans for how that money is supposed to be used in Davidson County. The one meeting that was set in May just happened to be election day. Probably wasn't a good day to try to have a meeting, so it got moved to June. But to my knowledge, and I've done a lot of checking to try to find out, none of the people who actually work with substance abuse are being asked to serve on any kind of committee to try to figure out where that money would best be used in Davidson County. And the substance abuse coordinator position was eliminated. So over the next 16 to 18 years, Davidson County is supposed to get $12.5 million in that substance abuse settlement. But yet the people with the boots on the ground that are doing the job aren't being considered. And then the last one. Bill just stood up here and talked to you about the VITA program. When he was informed that his contract was not being renewed and the county was not going to support the VITA program, guess who he came to see? That would be me. Because Davidson Medical Ministries worked with Catherine Lambeth 19 years ago to start the program in Davidson County. And we were the first fiscal agents for that money that was then available for the VITA program. And then it went to the county, and that was the best way for that to happen. But now it's being cut out. The very same people that I talk about taking care of, whether it's health care, whether it's pharmacy support, whether it's mental health, whether it's substance abuse, those are also those same low-income people that the VITA program is helping them to get tax money back that they're going to spend in Davidson County. But yet we want to cut the program out. That makes little to no sense to me as someone who has to try to stretch a dollar to make it go as far as it goes. The DC Connect project has about 28 different community partners working together to try to make this happen. What we're asking is that the county recognize its value and put some money towards making it happen in Davidson County and the number of people that we can serve as a result of it. Thank you.
Okay, Polly.
Okay, I
You
didn't
gonna
know if
finish
you'd
your
tell
thought?
me to sit down again.
No.
Okay, real quick, it's very different having more than 3 minutes, so I kinda got drunk on that for a minute. But, I wanted to reiterate on the bullying statement, that students don't feel safe because nothing's ever done, and we'll just piggyback on that whole situation at Central Davidson High that occurred this past week, when 24 students were put on a hit list by another student. And then that student's allowed to come back to school this week to take final exams. That sets a precedent for those students. They don't feel safe, but they're going to allow him to come back and take exams. Secondly, many either pre-election county commissioner candidates and some of you sitting were posed with a question either on Facebook or publicly of, can you or would you withhold money? And a lot have stated that you can't, and I'm here to tell you can. Just matters, do you want to set the precedence and set the tone for reclaiming the future of this county? Because Johnston County did it in 2021. They told their BOE if they didn't get CRT out, they wouldn't get any money. So it can be done. It's just a matter of you willing to really set the tone and set that precedence that you will stand on behalf of the future of this county and those kids. So you are at a pivotal point where you can actively participate in reclaiming and recapturing our flag in this county, or you can sit down and then just allow it to continue. But I do thank you for all the time that you've given me. Next meeting, you'll only give me 3 minutes, so I'll have to soak it up now. But thank you.
Thank you, Polly. Anyone else?
Name's Nicole Cullison.
Say that again, please.
Nicole Cullison. Do you need me to spell it? Cullison.
And spell the first name.
Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't do public speaking. I'm going to try not to pass out while I'm up here and stutter too much. So I spoke to Mr. Smith and Mr. McClure. We spoke at a little bit more length on the phone about 2 weeks ago. So I'm here on behalf of EMS tonight, and for you guys to consider to give them those wonderful men and women a raise. I do have numbers where I requested. I didn't get everything I had asked for. And like I said, I did not come in here to speak, but I couldn't leave here and not speak. You know, our two professions that make life or death situations for the public, law enforcement, for those of you that have that background, and EMS are two of our probably most underpaid professions when it comes to public service. And then you spoke about the aging population here in Davidson County, and then the previous lady, our drug problem, which I can attest to, it is a huge problem in this county. If we do not do things to compensate these men and women, they are going to continue to leave. I noticed in the information there were already 8 resignations just from the paramedics. It's not from the EMT basics and the advanced EMTs that are here. If we don't do something to give them some kind of financial compensation, I do believe we're going to lose more. And with our growing population in this county, our drug problem in this county, it's going to be detrimental. And if you guys have not ever been touched by not having to call an ambulance, I personally have never had to call an ambulance for myself or probably anyone in my family in my life. But as we get older, I think that's just the probabilities are going to rise. And I don't care if you have doctors or nurses in your family. If you're having a stroke or heart attack at home, there's nothing they're going to do to save your life. There's nothing they can do. Our paramedics, our trucks, units, whatever you want to call them in this county, they run all of our emergency and non-emergent calls. I did request the number of calls that other counties are having to respond here to calls in our county, and that our EMS is having to respond to other counties' calls. So I do believe there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that the citizens of Davidson County are not aware of. There are days that I see them lined up in the hall at one of the local hospitals, and they're right back. I don't even know how they got to the end of the road before they brought another patient back. I know that they're going without meals. I just hope that you guys will wholeheartedly consider giving these men and women some compensation. They're out there through all weather conditions, appreciated, not appreciated, it does not matter, tired, hungry, everything. So I just hope you guys will consider that.
Thank you, Nicole. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Reese Patterson.
Priest?
Spell that.
Was that Priest?
Reese.
R-E-E-C-E?
R-H-Y-S. I'm an advanced EMT with Davidson County EMS.
And last name again, Reese?
Patterson.
Patterson, thank you.
I wanted to share a call that I responded to. In the interest of patient privacy, a lot of specifics have been removed. But on midnight of January 1st, while many citizens of Davidson County were celebrating the new year, we in emergency services responded alongside police and fire. There were reports of a vehicle rolled over off the ramp of a highway. When my paramedic partner and I arrived, fire had already stabilized the vehicle, preventing any further damage, and police had already begun their investigation. As my partner began his initial assessment of both the scene and the patient, I ran back and forth from the ambulance to the scene with various materials needed for patient care. A second ambulance carrying another EMT and paramedic arrived, joining us in preparation for the care this man needed. When our patient was extricated, he was combative. He had obvious head trauma. Police restrained him enough for us to get him loaded to the ambulance. By this time, our shift captain had arrived on scene. It was determined that his airway must be secured in order for him to have a good outcome. His face was hanging off. Blood was running down his head into his mouth. To prevent aspiration of this blood, we performed a procedure known as rapid sequence intubation. In short, we utilized medication that first sedates the patient and then paralyzes him prior to intubating his trachea in order to effectively manage his breathing and airway. With 2 paramedics and another EMT to manage this man's injuries, I quickly shifted to the driver's seat. We transported this patient 35 minutes lights and sirens to Baptist Medical Center, our regional level 1 trauma center. In these 35 minutes, additional care was provided. Care including the administration of fluids to prevent shock, monitoring his vital signs, as well as managing medications, all in the back of a moving vehicle. The patient survived with, as far as I'm aware, no deficits to his quality of life besides scarring. This would have been in no way possible without the services of Davidson County first responders. While I hope this has managed to move you in some way emotionally, the main purpose of this story was to highlight that we did all of this for about the same pay as a Target employee. Make no mistake, this is not to discount the work of retail employees. This is simply to beg the question, how can the government entity of Davidson County, North Carolina, allow employees that provide life-saving care do this work for the same or even less money than they would bagging groceries. I'd like to leave you with a short saying I've heard over the past EMS week. Good medics aren't cheap, and cheap medics aren't good. Thank you for your time.
Let's try to keep it down, please. Anybody else want to speak?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Amanda Hackworth, and I am here representing our EMS people as well. To go off of what Mr. Patterson said about the call, I shared an article on my Facebook earlier that I read right before I come here. Very disturbing that there are counties in West Virginia who are waiting for 2 hours. Patients are waiting for 2 hours for an ambulance to respond to them. With what Mr. Patterson said about this call, what would have happened to that young man if they would have had to wait 2 hours to have an ambulance come to them because of understaffing? Unfortunately, that is what our county is facing, our EMS system is facing every single day. I just ask if you guys please consider helping our EMS system and helping to keep our skilled paramedics and our skilled advanced EMTs and our skilled EMTs to stay with us. Appreciate it.
One second. Deb, did you get her name?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, I'll get it from you, because I forgot to write it down. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry had given it to me when they were here for EMS week.
Okay, I forgot to get it. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Picture me with her the other day.
I did?
Yeah, up there.
I told you I'm getting senile here. I can't remember things. Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion by the board? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. Okay. And may I have a motion and a second to go into closed session?
Go into closed session.
No, we'll set the budget.
The budget workshop is set for June 2nd.
Set the budget workshop.
I thought you already had that set.
I've got that set to put on.
I thought you did.
I do.
Okay. All right. We have a motion to go into closed session. And a second from anybody?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Let's take a 5-minute first, though.
Probably gonna take longer.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you.
I'm turning the recording back on. Okay, we're live.
Move return to open session.
Second.
Charge, Don. All in favor, say aye. You do what you gotta do.
Yep.
Amen.
Everybody's here.
Go ahead, Chairman.
Steve's listening.
I thought he had to leave because of his animal.
I vote we excuse Steve.
I figured you'd have it over with by now.
I tried.
Between you and Don.
And Mr. Chairman, we just need a vote to come back into open session. We've had a motion in a second.
Motion to, motion to open session. Cast your vote.
Thank you.
Aye, okay.
Okay.
Now, Mike, if you wanna give us an update.
Are we back in session?
Yes, sir.
There was no formal action taken in the, closed session. The board heard information concerning possible, economic incentive programs.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Mo second.
Motion.